This week's specials at Miles Franklin are all about the Royal Canadian Mint. We have 10-ounce Royal Canadian Mint bars, which is the new design, $2.75 over spot. We also have quarter-ounce gold maples, 2-coin minimum, $69 over melt. 10th-ounce gold maples, 4-coin minimum, $32.50 over melt. And last but not least, silver maple leafs, 50-coin minimum, also $3.75 over spot. Just email me, slayer@milesfranklin.com. We also have tons of other stuff with great prices. Let's get to the video.
Connection established.
Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you stack silver and you like your daily news to be unfiltered, uncensored, and unbiased, well, you've come to the right place because I post videos every single day of the week. So make sure to subscribe and definitely click the bell so you immediately get notified since times are crazy right now, and I'll cover it all. We are going to be talking about something insane. This just came out. It's an article from nxtmine.com, and it's talking about how Mexico could run out of silver by 2026, worsening supply deficit. Let me give some insight and some context. Mexico is by far the largest producer of silver. By far. Mexico and Peru, those two countries alone accumulate nearly half, 50% of the entire world's silver production. The entire world. The amount of silver we already need with this massively growing demand as silver is used in electronics, and the worsening, tightening supply, record-breaking supply deficits makes this information that just came out even more scary, even worse for this entire green situation, or trying to go green situation, that our government is portraying. This zero net emissions by the year 2050 is impossible. And I don't see how this situation is going to play out. Yes, we'll get a pretty penny, but at what cost? Are they going to come out and say they have to cut back the amount of EVs they produce each year because they're having a hard time finding this metal, which is silver? Well, what is it going to look like? But regardless, let's dive into these numbers, because I know a lot of people try to say, oh, we have plenty of silver in our above ground silver reserves, where military was caught raiding our silver stockpiles just because we need so much silver for Tomahawk missiles, which require 500 ounces of silver in a single one, or all these satellites and surveillance systems and everything we need militarily in aerospace, everything is requiring silver, but mine production is getting cut back, record-breaking supply deficits. It's only getting worse, and I don't see where this plays out. I don't see how it plays out, except for silver's price going upwards. That's the one thing I can predict. But there's also another interesting article that came out a couple days ago as well, and this is why you guys got to be subscribed, because when I dive into something, I will find all the other little things underneath it that, one, nobody would ever cover itself, but also that has to directly do with the bigger problem. For example, Norway is gearing up to mine precious metals from the depths of its ocean in a world's first. Deep sea mining is now going to be a thing. I've always talked about space mining, the final frontier. For example, there's an asteroid called 16 Psyche that is headed towards Earth, or around Earth, in the year 2026. NASA already sent out a rover to check out this thing last year because there is supposedly like $500 quintillion worth of precious metals on it, and they're going to try to mine this thing. Will space mining be realistic by the year 2026? No, but the fact that they are considering this or trying to make this happen is very telling. And that's also another opportunity, because what could we do to get more silver? Mining innovation out of the Earth's crust. There's only so much silver in the Earth's crust. Silver's a byproduct. It's found by accident. So what else? Mining innovation, recycling. That could be another one, recycling. But recycling doesn't even put a small dent into the amount of silver we need. With hundreds of millions of ounces in the red, that's not gonna work. What else? Taking it from us. That's the third option. It's happened before. Executive Order, what? 6102 by FDR in 1933. Wait, that was Gold Silver Slayer. There was another one a year later in 1934. Executive Order 6812 by FDR, stating that you have to give us your silver or pay a $10,000 fine, 10 years imprisonment, or both. Whoa. Yeah, that happened a year later. But gold was the one that everyone knows about. I bet you didn't know that FDR also confiscated people's silver a year later. Regardless, that's a whole separate one, but that's the third option. Fourth option could be space mining, but also deep sea mining. They're trying any way to figure out how to crack this code for the lack of silver we have, and other metals as well, like lithium. But yeah, anyways, I thought that was interesting. So just to give a little context before we dive into this article, I think it's important to know. So with that said, let's talk silver. The world's largest silver producer could mine all of its existing reserves within 2 years, throwing silver's global supply-demand balance even further out of whack than it is currently. Mexico has regularly outputted 5,600 tons of white metal over the past 10 years, but has seen its reserves dwindle to just 37,000 tons. If mining continues at the current pace, Mexico's silver reserves will be exhausted by the end of 2026, it was recently reported. Silver production there is now declining double digits annually for the first time in almost a decade. And this year, output is expected to fall by 16 million ounces because of the suspension of operations at Newmont's Penasquito mine due to a strike. And that's from the Silver Institute. And lots of mines are getting protested, like the one that was going to be put up in Canada last year. It got protested and shut down because they said that it was going to contaminate the groundwater, the silver mine would. And kind of ironic because silver purifies water, it has antimicrobial properties. But, you know, the mine definitely would contaminate the groundwater, but it's just funny they're protesting a mine that's making something that purifies water because it would, you know. But anyways, here's a chart showing the percent change, annual percent change. You can see 2023 is way down in the red, along with 2016, way down in the red. And I mean, this isn't just a little, we're talking record-breaking supply deficits with hundreds of millions of ounces in the red. And with production even dwindling more so than it already has been, with demand expected to boom, you could see how this picture is going to be ugly and how it's going to be extremely hard to play out, especially since low supply, high demand should push the price up, but silver's price is suppressed. So will price suppression be able to overhandle something that is so scarce but so useful and so needed? That's where a lot of people don't think it through when they say, oh, silver will never break above $50. Do they understand this situation? Because if they did, I don't think they would say that. And I could agree with them. If there wasn't a massive silver shortage and silver's price is suppressed, I don't think silver would ever break above $50 either, unless you were to consider it from a financial standpoint, talking about the dollar's purchasing power going down. But in my opinion, the macro is more important than the micro. So the country made headlines in 2022 when the government of President Andres Manuel Lopez nationalized the lithium industry. According to mining.com, bill elevates lithium to the category of strategic mineral, declaring the exploration, exploitation, and use of lithium to be exclusive right now to the state. It also includes clause of allowing the state to take charge of other minerals declared strategic by Mexico. Could silver be the next metal to be nationalized? Silver taking power in 2018, Lopez Obrador has fought to reverse resource reforms under previous governments, which opened the oil and electricity sectors to private investment. He has pushed a resource exploitation model that gives priority to state-controlled companies. And I just want to mention something back here when they talked about silver or these metals being declared strategic. Canada put out a 55 list mineral or this I guess it was this chart of 55 different minerals that are declared extinct or going extinct that are extremely important. But silver wasn't on that list, even though silver was the most important mineral or element that needs that has this critical use. And it's funny, it's like they had to have purposely left it off. If they're going to name 55 other metals and elements that I've never even heard of, but silver being the one that we need the most of, that has the least amount of time left on this earth before it's poof gone, it's funny. It's like they're purposely trying to undermine, pun intended, undermine silver's role or its critical role it plays. And when that does come out to shine, I think silver will quote unquote explode. And by that time, I'm talking about the year 2026. For years now, you can go back and watch my videos. I've been making silver videos since 2016 on this channel. Been very open about this. I don't want people to have the wrong idea of silver exploding. For example, a lot of channels will say silver is going to explode to $3,000, in a couple of months. That's not realistic. Don't listen to them. That's very dangerous. That will affect the way you're investing, and that's just very dangerous in general, because you're not only misled, then you have this unrealistic expectation. So then when it doesn't do that, then you start to second guess yourself, when you might start to sell, just like Wall Street Silver, thinking they were going to push the price from $21 to $21,000. It doesn't do that, and then everyone sells where they bought in at $30 and sold after it corrected back down, which it should have, to lower levels. So I try to be realistic with people. When I say silver breaking above triple digits or quote unquote exploding, I'm talking about the year 2025, 2026. No, I'm not talking about next month. It shouldn't happen next month. You don't want it to. So you guys got to remember that. Like, I'm the opposite of a silver pumper, because I want people to have a realistic idea of what, and it's not even for that. It's not even about getting rich. Silver is the wealth itself. And when silver does reach those highs, that just means the dollar has gone that much lower. So let's keep moving on. So they go up here. They mention these supply deficits. So last year, they passed the overhaul of mining laws, which included shorter concessions at tighter rules for permits. The reforms also reduced the length of mining concessions from 50 to 30 years. The earlier proposal was for 15. So Dan Dickinson, CEO of Endeavor Silver, a Canadian firm with 2 producing silver mines in Mexico, said changes to concession terms would affect junior miners' ability to secure finance. We deplete our resources and need to make new discoveries to replace that supply. It will limit companies from coming behind the operators to bring that additional supply on. That's what a lot of people don't think about. It's like, when we're in the red, that means we have to dig up more silver to at least break even. But by the time we do that, we're in the red even further. So it's almost like having your 2 years in the red if you're only 1 year in the red, because it takes about a year to catch up. But by that next year, so much more silver will be needed. It is an impossible system to crack. There's no way we have enough silver to go green. We don't even have enough silver right now. So how in the world, when demand exceeding 1.2 billion ounces is going to be 1.4 billion, 1.5 billion over the next decade, when that rises, and we can't even produce 820 million ounces in a good year. So the mining code changes also threaten to trigger a wave of litigation in Canada, where 70% of foreign mining companies operating in Mexico are based. And that could jeopardize $9 billion of investment in the next 2 years. So according to the U.S. Geological Survey, Mexico produced 6,300 tons of silver in 2022 against world number 2 China's 3,600 tons. And in third place is Peru's 3,100 tons. So you can see right here, America has 23,000 in reserves. Argentina, 6,500. Which is a world total of 550,000 tons. But Mexican production has nosedived in the past. It's never been in conjunction with China's demand this large. So there is no small part because their own production is also drying up. So yeah, here's the 2023 deficit that's also very important. very important to understand. All the above factors, falling production in Mexico and China on top of two producers, resource nationalism in Peru, number 3 producer, too low of an incentive to price and higher input costs are all feeding into a global silver supply deficit. According to the 2023 World Silver Survey, global silver market was undersupplied by 237.7 million ounces in 2022, which the Institute says is possibly the most significant deficit on record. And it's even worse than that because they don't incorporate some types of demand from sectors like military, which uses a lot of silver as well. It took just 2 years of undersupply, the 2022 deficit and the 51.1 million ounce shortfall of 2021 to wipe out the cumulative surpluses from the previous decade. That's what I'm talking about. Even when we catch up in the next 2 years, it wiped out all of these surpluses, all the extra silver we dug up to try to catch up and make this work was wiped out in 2 years. And that's a decade worth of surpluses. So no, we don't have enough silver. If anyone is saying we do, they're not looking at the bigger picture. They're not incorporating things like this. They're looking at the year-to-year supply or saying, we have this much above ground in our reserves. We can dig up this much amount in production or in demand is supposed to fall 100 million ounces this year. Yeah, we have enough. We can do this. But they're not including so many other variables. Global silver mine is projected to fall 2% this year to about 820 million ounces, compared to forecast demand of 1.2 billion ounces. First Majestic Silver's Keith Neumeyer recently commented, solar panel, electric, car industries now consume about 30% of mined silver. And by the way, he said one primary silver mine produces about 10 million ounces a year, meaning it has zero impact on the deficit. And remember, he's the CEO of First Majestic Silver, right? He mines silver. So Silver Institute forecasts 140 million ounces of silver this year, or that's a deficit this year, third consecutive annual shortfall. So, yeah, we're in a new situation, ongoing deficits. There's no way to fix this. And like he says, Metals Focus believes this deficit will persist in the silver market for the foreseeable future. I don't know how it couldn't ever, because like it said, the 10 years of surplus is gone in 2 years, wiped out. Imagine moving forwards since it's getting worse and worse. It's not possible unless we find a new source. And then we could go into the industrial demand drivers. We already know about all this. So, it's, electrical, metals, obviously EVs and electronics. Then it goes into monetary demand. There's a lot to this. This is a very large article. But yeah, that's basically, what I wanted to mention. While silver is also an industrial metal, more fundamentally, it's also a monetary metal. Despite being more volatile in the short term, silver tends to track with gold over time. Historically, it's outperformed gold in the gold bull market, which means it's also kind of risky since, higher highs and lower lows, more exaggerated, more dramatic version of gold. So you got to be careful if you are trading it, which I don't recommend. Just buy the silver and hold it. But anyways, yeah, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Hopefully you stuck around, because a lot of the important stuff was towards the end of the video, and that's why we say, if you were someone that clicked off this video within 2 minutes, I'm sorry I can't help you, but if you're still listening to me speak right now, you're probably going to be a pretty successful investor because you're not closed-minded. You wanted to soak up every piece of information, and that will pay off. So anyways, yeah. Remember, I post daily, so make sure to subscribe if you thought this video was informational or educational or entertaining. And also, make sure if you guys wanted to purchase silver, just email me, slayer@milesfranklin.com. We have those deals that I mentioned as well. It's Royal Canadian Mint Week. So, yeah. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. This is Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.